welcome to our webinar for this evening. My name's Susie West and I'm here as part of the Barbican Theatre to welcome our panel back into the space. We have an array of talented dance practitioners in the community sector to talk to us a little bit about how they've been working during lockdown tonight. We have Lois Taylor and Sam Lawrence from Dance Centred. We have Caitlin Howlett from Plymouth Dance. We have Claire Parker from Dance in Devon, Laura Nightingale from Exim Dance, and Chris Gilchrist from Rhythm City in Plymouth. We're going to give a chance for each of them to introduce themselves now and tell us a little bit about what they have been getting up to and some of their stories about the role of dance in our cities and in our counties during lockdown. So I'm going to start off by asking Laura Nightingale to give us 5 minutes of what Exim has been getting up to. Welcome now, Laura.
Hello. It's been really tricky to think about just one thing that we've been doing, and one thing that kind of really stuck with us and we've really developed over the last pretty much year now is our positivity packs and our We're Here For You postcards that we've been sending. And we've been working with graphic designers, art therapists. Caitlin, who's here from Plymouth Dance, also works for Exim, and she's been doing calligraphy, affirmations as well. But we've developed them over the 12 months, and it's something that we're really proud of and something that we want to continue doing. And they've been part of our packages in terms of our positivity pack. So they get these alongside a number of various different things, be it journals, mindfulness journals, colouring books, art books that we've done, pencils, paints, you name it. We've kind of created it with local people in Plymouth and the Southwest. We really wanted to make sure that we've been supporting small independent companies, which is really a personal and very important thing for me and for the company. We've also continued our services, be it virtual, over the whole of the pandemic. We've been very fortunate that we've been supported financially to be able to continue to do that. And throughout the pandemic, we've been doing a lot of kind of mindfulness and a lot of dance sessions. But as time's gone on, and the reality is of staring at a screen for a long time, people haven't wanted to be dancing as much. So we had to think and come up with new initiatives of how we were going to work. And that's exactly how our positivity packs came about. Within them, we've been making and using some of our iconic company pictures, being touring pictures, community sessions, and we've been working with a really beautiful graphic designer called Lucy in Cornwall, and she's been making some really beautiful, excellent colour pictures. So the young people we can work with, they've been colouring. Caitlin, she's been doing some beautiful calligraphy, as I said as well. And then Chloe Brown, who's our education manager, has been making some really beautiful movement and dance exercises for people as well. Alongside this, we've also, with Chris, who's in here at the moment, we've taken on a new space. So that's something that we're really excited to be looking forward to hopefully open in the near future. And to have a new beautiful community hub in Plymouth and in Stonehouse. I don't know how long I've been talking for, so I'm going to stop. But yeah, hopefully that's kind of filled in some of what Exim's done. I will just keep talking.
That is brilliant. Thank you, Laura. It is hard, isn't it, to pick just one thing, because
it is. Yeah.
It's been a long time in lockdown. It's been a year, so there's lots to talk about. But I think we'll get onto some of that when we have a bit of a chat all together soon. But those activity packs look amazing. And we're already getting comments. Look, Jen's already said amazing work. Brilliant. I'm going to now ask for Caitlin to pop up onto the screen and tell us a little bit about Plymouth Dance, please.
Hello, thank you, Susie. So, yeah, I'm going to follow on quite nicely with Laura, actually, with some little bits to show and tell. So I'm here from Plymouth Dance today, and I can definitely agree with what's just been said. It's super difficult to focus on one thing when we've nearly been in this lockdown. Well, not a solid lockdown, but we've nearly been in this for a year now, and so many of us have changed so many things. But I am going to focus on one thing, and I'm going to focus on something that I think I was having a little sneaky look in the attendees, and I think most people here will know, and that is tea dance with a twist. So something that's very iconic for Plymouth Dance is tea dance with a twist. Stumbling over my words. We are, and it is it is an intergenerational, inclusive dance event. It's normally held in Plymouth Guildhall in the centre, and we get around about 100 people attend normally when it's running physical events. And it's almost, well, when we describe it as a wedding party feel. So that kind of really joyous, fun, it's a lovely afternoon. There's lots of tea and there's lots of cake. That is a common theme running throughout. And I'm mentioning that because it will relate to my little show and tell in a second. But yeah, it's mainly for families, for the older generation, for people who may be socially isolated. And it's just a lovely chance to come together, listen to some beautiful live music and dance. And something that we have wanted to continue is our connection with those attendees. We've got a register of, I believe, nearly 1,000 now on our register. So lots and lots of people have come over our 30 events we've now held. And we are hoping to start them back up when we come out of lockdown, of course, when it's safe to do so. So we've wanted to stay in contact with them and kind of spread some of that joy and positivity. We all know how lovely it is when we can kind of flick back through our photo albums. And yeah, it's a huge number, isn't it? It's kind of unbelievable. But we know that lovely feeling of flipping back through a photo album and reminiscing over a lovely time. And one of the main reasons why we hold it in the Guildhall is because lots of the older generation of people who attend have happy memories in there. There are lots of weddings that are held there. There have been lots of events over the years. So it's also a place for them to come and reminisce. So as part of trying to encourage some social connection and some joy, we have been sending cards. And there are some people on this call who will definitely recognize their faces on these cards. So sorry if you didn't want me to show this, but they're beautiful. And so we've been sending some cards and they're quite big. Loads of people on this one. I love this one so much. And this was during the summer, I believe. So loads and loads of smiley faces. And again, here is where the tea comes into it. So we asked everyone to send a picture of them with a teacup. And I'm already smiling because it made me so happy seeing all of these pictures. And we normally put a super happy message inside just to say, we're missing you. We hope to see you soon. And we also include in our cards tea bags. We've been supported by the wonderful Cornish tea throughout our tea dances. And they supply us with some free tea and coffee usually. So the participants, when they come, get a lovely tea. So we wanted to kind of bring a little bit of that memory and kind of elements of, we try and incorporate, obviously there's the sight, there's the smell of the tea, there's the taste of the tea. So we're hitting those senses as well as the memories and bringing back a little bit of joy. And then another card I want to show brings in the cake element. And Jem, I believe that you're on this call. You've definitely taken some of these pictures over the years. And how could we resist sending some delicious treats? And again, we did put some tea bags in this one. And then finally, we've done a couple of events, some large scale tea dances on the Hoe, and our wonderful team always take fantastic pictures for us. So continuing with the tea and cake theme is definitely a theme. I promise we do dancing too. We did send some little coasters as well, which I have had some feedback from, and people did say that they were loving it, which was really great. And we sent some Christmas cards. Some people have got back in contact and they've written us letters back, which has been lovely. So trying to stay in contact with people has just been so, so wonderful. And especially when we receive that feedback from people to say, I've loved it, thank you so much. It's a lovely surprise for them. So yeah, we've just trying to be reminiscing and bringing some of that kind of tactile feeling and memories of attending events, and hopefully bring a smile to people's faces as much as possible, and involve our tea dance team so that we've stayed connected as well. And like Laura, I've completely lost track of how long I've been talking. So I will stop, and hopefully that's given you a good overview.
That's great. I'm just gagging for a cup of tea now and a biscuit. All of the rest of you listening to this, go and boil the kettle. Do it now. Enjoy the fact that you can do that whilst we're on a webinar chat. So really lovely, again, sort of to understand how you're finding different ways to connect other than just dance. We've heard about positivity packs, and we've heard about postcards and tea bags being sent through the post, and new ways for people to connect with what you're doing. Us dancers, we're adaptable, aren't we? That's for sure. Thank you, Caitlin. I'm going to pass over to Chris Gilchrist now from River City Studios to talk to us a little bit about their new adventures and their positive stories.
Sorry, technical issue there. So yeah, Rhythm City over lockdown, we kind of the same as Plymouth Dance and Exim have been saying. We've just been trying to stay connected with everybody as much as we can to keep them as occupied and as sane as possible. Myself, I struggled via the first lockdown. It hit me quite hard, and dance and pushing everybody else to keep dancing was kind of what kept me sane. So we ran a range of different things from online classes. So we ran, I think in total, over 75 classes. So we had dancers from all over the world, as well as the UK join in. We had a teacher from New York. We had teachers from London, from Reading, take part. We had dancers from all over the world join in on our classes, which was great. So we've got some of our flyers on the next slide to show a range of the classes we had on. They were all done for free, live on Instagram, just so everybody could join in. They were great fun. They kept the people dancing. It kept the teachers occupied because it made them train. It made them have something to teach. Luckily, we had really good weather, so a lot of people were doing it in their gardens, and that was great. As well as that, we also ran a few competitions. One of the favorite competitions we ran, we did a parent and child challenge where we set a challenge for all dancers to get their parents involved to create a duo. We had a silly amount of entries. We thought more than what we thought we were going to do, and we had to narrow it down, put it to a panel of judges and a public vote. So we actually narrowed it down to the best. I think it was 8 videos, and then we put it to the public to vote for their winners. We had over 1,500 votes in total, which was crazy. And the video that's going to come on next is the winners, and I hope this makes you guys smile as much as I did. It's one of our students and his dad, Lee. This is what they created in their garden. So have a little watch of this, and hopefully it lets you smile. I don't know where they got these suits from. I honestly do not know where they got these suits from. Yeah, and that was it. They were our winners, voted by the public. If you couldn't tell, the dad is Lee, who is in the silver suit, and his son Max in the gold. So yeah, that's one of the competitions we ran, as well as quizzes. We ran a range of quizzes, and then most recently in this lockdown, as this picture shows, we've just created some online tutorials. This was funded by Stronger North Stonehouse, and we've made these free, as well as all the other classes we've done that have been free, just to get people moving again, hopefully introducing some new people into dance to get them into the building. As Laura stated earlier, we have partnered up with Exim, which is amazing, to create the Oxford House Creative Hub. We've turned an unused building into one of the most beautiful places I've been in, and we can't wait to see how that's going to grow. So yeah, that we've been up to a lot of things, but it's mainly just keeping people occupied, and as the other two have stated, keeping people connected, keeping people socially active as well. That's been the biggest thing. What a better way to meet people but via the love of dance, I guess. So that's a lot of what we've been running. I said there's much more we could talk about, but I've probably chatted longer than everybody else so far, so I will pause myself there. But yeah, I hope you guys have liked what we've shown.
I loved that. That was amazing. And you're right, it made me grin from ear to ear from seeing them dancing. Oh, there's nothing quite like dance to do something like that, isn't it? I can't imagine my dad joining me for a groove like that, but That is just so great to see. Congratulations on the new building, both Laura and Chris. I can't wait to go and visit. I'm definitely going to get myself over there soon. I'm going to introduce you now to Claire Parker, who's here for Dance in Devon, to tell us a little bit about some of their projects.
Hi, Susie. Thank you. Oh, gosh, I need a sparkly suit like that, Chris. They're just amazing, those guys. They're brilliant. So Dance in Devon, like everybody, really, we've just been working hard to stay connected with all of the dancing community, really. There's a few things coming up that might be quite interesting. There's a digital project called This Too Shall Pass with Victor Fung Company, which anyone can join in with, which is a training session that's coming up. So look out for that on social media with Dance in Devon. We've also been doing a lot of delivery, both online and with in-person bubbles with LifeWorks, which is young adults with learning disabilities, sort of throughout the various different lockdowns. And we're also fundraising at the moment. We hope to invite everybody to the Agatha Christie Festival in September. So we're quite busy with lots of things, and obviously been doing a lot of digital work, but I'm going to talk really about the work that we've been doing in real actual life, real actual people dancing and singing in the real actual world, which has been amazing. Because I'm a dance artist working as part of a team on the Arts on Call project, which is happening throughout Devon and Torbay, really. So North Devon, South Hams and Torbay mostly. And it's all about reaching older isolated people where they are. And obviously they're shielding in their own homes and care homes. So the work that the Arts on Call project, really, there's 3 parts of it, and we're in the first part at the moment, which is live delivery of dancing and singing outside the windows of people's homes. It's building on the work that we've been doing for many years now with working with people in care homes and with older people across Devon. So last summer, for example, we were dancing in people's gardens with up to 6 people when we were allowed to do that. And we really wanted to devise an experience that's not digital, because a lot of the elderly people that we've been working with, you know, they may not have the technology, they may not have the confidence. And also there's issues around sort of balance and safety if people are dancing at home, you know, through digital means, and also just making that connection, really. So we wanted to devise something that was happening in real life. We wanted to remind ourselves that the world can be a hopeful and a kind place to be, and bring a bit of joy, song and dance and personal interactions and connections in person, really. So Sue at Dance in Devon fundraised, and we got some support from National Lottery COVID response and also the Greenhall Foundation, and then formed a partnership with Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra. And so we've been working, there's myself, I've been working in Torbay, there's Rosie, who's been working in Totnes, Ashburton, Buckfast-Lee, and then there's Rebecca, who you see in the picture there, who's been up in Barnstaple and North Devon with amazing volunteers and amazing costumes, doing incredible performances. So we've been basically rocking up outside people's windows. They've expected us. We haven't just turned up unannounced, but and doing pop-up performances with a mixture of live and recorded music and dance, about 20 to 30 minutes or so. Lots of familiar music, you know, old tunes that people recognise and they can sing along with. Lots of movements that are familiar and inviting that people want to join in with, and really focusing on eye contact and connecting and communicating with people through the windows. You can see in this picture we've got our handmade signs, you know, please join in with us. So using signs, using body language, really magnifying our expressions and smiles, and lots of eye contact has made all the difference, really. And that's Hugh in the picture there. Hugh is from Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, and he's been just fantastic to work with. So we've done a lot of kind of we've had a little set list of about 4 or 5 different pieces that we might expect to do, and then he usually throws in quite a lot of improv as well, so it's been just fantastic fun working with him. It's been amazing. And really, I think for us as artists, it's just been wonderful to get out and perform and interact and reconnect with people in person. It's been just totally joyous and wonderful. And we've noticed, I think, over the past, because we've been doing it this side of Christmas, so we've been outside a lot of care homes throughout January, February, and now in March. And we've been noticing over time how much more relaxed the staff and the residents are getting as they've had their vaccines. People are starting to tentatively come outside a little bit and engage with what we're doing. So you know, it feels absolutely wonderful to sort of have spring around the corner and be starting to connect with people in person. So that's the first part of the project, is dance and music outside the windows. And following on from that, we're going to be doing some radio dance, which we haven't figured out yet what that's going to look like and how we're going to do it. So it's going to be purely audio described movement sessions, which is the collaboration with Sound Art Radio. And that's coming up in the next couple of months. And then also following on, there's an invitation for the care homes to get involved with the wonderful Lois and Sam, who are going to speak in a minute, with their physical postcards. So that's sort of part of the offer as well. So, and I think Sam and Lois will be able to tell you more about that. But yeah, that's some of the stuff we've been getting up to, and it's been absolutely joyous, and I've absolutely loved it.
Thank you so much, Claire. I can see the joy in your face with your yellow coat on and your happy smiley face at the windows of all those places. I agree. I myself have done a little bit of that in my local village, dancing in all the cul-de-sacs, and there's nothing like it to make you feel sort of reconnected to people again. And yeah. I know quite a few people attending this session have been roped into doing similar things at residential care homes during the summer in between the lockdowns, and we had the most amazing time. Thank you, Claire. So let's pass on to hear from Lois and Sam about their project that connects a little bit in with what Claire's just been saying.
Hi.
Lois,
Okay, I'll kickstart. The story of our physical postcards is what we thought we'd share with you. This really emerged as a response to the first lockdown last year. We started getting in touch with lots of our participants of regular classes that we're running, just to let them know that we couldn't go ahead, and just to check they were okay, and as a way of just keeping in touch. And we discovered that many of them were not using the internet for all sorts of different reasons. So, start my video. So we evolved this idea as a kind of creative solution, really, to that non-digital way of keeping in touch and staying connected. As been mentioned by so many people, this really seems like a theme. And we thought it would be a good way to maintain a kind of creative and physical momentum. So we started creating some physical postcards with some funding from Feast Cornwall and the Arts Council England Emergency Fund. We created a set of 6 physical postcards, and we sent one every 2 weeks to 100 people initially through the post from April onwards. Initially, the cards were very much handcrafted using collage, images found, written stick, my sketches, photocopying, watercolours, lots of experimenting. As you can see, these first 2 images. We collaborated with a photographer, literally graffitiing over his images with his permission, a local artist and an illustrator, all of whom we'd worked with previously. So it was a nice way to maintain some creative collaboration momentum with them as well. The cards were A5 inside, and the idea was we had an inspiring image on the front, and then on the back were some lovely movement ideas. And these were generally reaching people that we're already working with, so they were already familiar with a kind of open, creative approach. Although there were a few new people that we engaged through social prescribers and just friends of friends. But because of that, because there were people that we're familiar with and used to our way of working, the movement ideas were quite improvisation based and using images and words as starting points. And we included a few little music suggestions that we liked and we thought people might enjoy. People were invited. Oh yeah, that's we'll pause on that one, I think, for now. So this is, yes, great. People were invited to respond in any way they wanted. We received paintings, poetry, letters, and phone calls, and we got a really, really positive response to this. And for many, they did say that they experienced a really strong sense of connection and enjoyed receiving something beautiful in the post. And many found the postcard popping through their letterbox was a welcome boost, which motivated them to move and or respond creatively. So soon after we started sending these out, we started having meetings with Active Cornwall regarding another project that we were planning. And they signposted us to the Sport England Innovation Fund and gave us some really good support and advice on how to frame a funding application to Sport England within the context of a sport setting rather than an arts one. And our idea was to expand and develop the physical postcard project to reach a much, much larger number of digitally excluded and vulnerable people across Cornwall. So we submitted an application for that in the summer for a project to begin in September, at which point I will pass over to Lois.
Okay, I'm just going to read to make sure I don't overrun because I want to pack it all in. So once we heard that the funding bid was successful, we engaged the designer and illustrator Melanie Chadwick, and we felt that her style was playful and accessible. And together we chose a colour palette that we thought would be fun and vibrant for people. Next image, please. Sam and I spent the time in the studio developing the card ideas and concepts and movement vocabulary, and then we shared that with Melanie so that she could develop the designs for them. Next image, please. Together, we also developed a sign-up card. Working with Blister Arts, this card was sent to many community organisations who reach the digitally excluded, including Age UK, Valued Lives, the Red Cross and social prescribers. Active Cornwall also distributed them to the Health England mailing list and to those that were isolating due to COVID and also digitally excluded. We needed these trusted groups to encourage individuals to trust us because we needed them to sign up, giving us their name and address to receiving the 12 weekly postcards. Our target of 1,000 signups seemed an awful long way away when we first started and just one or two people got in touch with us. But then more and more people started to make contact. And we had some of the most moving and heartbreaking and heartwarming conversations with people, some of whom hadn't had a conversation with anybody for weeks. A total of 1,032 signed up by our deadline time. Next image, please. We set up a mail room with volunteers to work with us, to put the postcards in envelopes, to stick on the address labels, to frank them with our brand new franking machine, and then get them in the post weekly. Next image, please. 230 sets of 12 postcards were printed on anti-bac wipe clean card and sent to care homes and support groups. To help the carers and activity coordinators encourage people to get involved with the postcard ideas, Sam and I also created a film for each postcard activities, which we've put onto our website. Next image, please. That's the back of the card that you've just seen. And we'll go to the next image. You can just sort of flip one and then the other. We're in the process of gathering feedback and evaluation, but we just wanted to let you know a little bit about what people have already been sharing with us, people that just wanted to let us know. So I'll just read you a few feedback quotes. Receiving the postcards has been the colourful highlight of my lockdown, thank you. And then Volunteer Cornwall said, one of my clients who's really hard to engage and connect with has called me to say that she's been dancing in her kitchen and she's loving the postcards. Another one said, I'm a support worker for vulnerable adults with autism and we're loving the postcards. And then, thank you so much for the ongoing physical postcards, which continue to be a delight. I really appreciate all you've done to reach out and bring dance and joy in movement to us all in a fun way. And then finally, all the dance postcard ideas are such a godsend for me at the moment. Having a stretch or a spin in the kitchen is really uplifting. And I think just from listening to everybody, the effort and goodwill across all the practitioners and artists to just bring some joy and connectivity has been amazing. So it's been great to hear everybody else's stories too. Thank you, Susie.
You took the words out of my mouth, Lois. I was about to say, God, it's filling me up with sort of such joy. God, I get a bit emotional because it's so nice to hear about the work that you're doing and how it's engaging people. And I just think we deserve a massive pat on the back because we're doing such amazing work. I'm going to ask all of the panelists to join me now to put I want to see your faces so we can have a good old chin wag now. We can start to pull out some of these questions that people have started to ask us. So first of all, my first question was going to be about who's dancing and why they're dancing. And so you've already started to tell me a little bit about who these are, but I'm particularly interested in who is new and dancing with you, and how is this sort of these new activities perhaps brought new people in or new reasons why people are connecting with you. That is my first question to the panel. Would anyone like to start me off? Chris?
One of the things we had was a lot of people who have been scared to go to a dance class due to confidence issues were really appreciative of doing this at home, having the videos, because they didn't have to worry about anyone watching them. They didn't have to worry about being around people they didn't know. It was a great step for them to get started. So I believe the online stuff, it might have encouraged some people and helped build confidence to maybe get them to step foot in the studio with others. Because as much as private dance and stuff and one-to-one and that kind of thing is great, I do believe the social environment that dance brings is one of the most important part of being a dancer. So hopefully it can get them into that space to really get the true feeling of being part of a dance company, a dance class, and just being involved in person.
Thank you. And I wonder if it's something that we might think about in the future in terms of how we engage or how we might invite people into a dance studio space, whether some of these methods might stay, as a way to engage an audience. Anyone else want to answer that first question? Caitlin?
Thank you. I think most recently, so we've just finished a series of online masterclasses, and that what's been really interesting about that is that we've been able to engage practitioners from literally halfway across the world. So our last one was Liz Lee, and she is an Australian-based practitioner, and that was just brilliant. I mean, we do normally host different events that have an international reach. Last summer intensive normally, but a one-off 1.5 hour masterclass, we've been able to connect with so many people. And what's been lovely when I've been registering people and stuff is we've even had attendees who I don't know, I'm not aware of, and June isn't aware of, and we've had people join from across the globe as well. So that's been really nice, and it's something that June and I have spoken about, that is it's opened up people to connect with us who were here and we didn't know, and who will now maybe want to do physical stuff with us, but also enabled us to engage people and hire people who we maybe wouldn't have due to travel, accommodation, all of those constraints normally, and be able to share the work of artists from much further afield with people who are local, but then also further afield again. So it's really interesting how those communities merge, and is something that we feel very passionate about continuing as well.
Lois?
I think one of the things that probably all the different projects that we've done has built partnerships outside of the arts and theatre sector further, and encouraged and given those partnerships confidence that dance is a really kind of great tool for them as well, to develop some really good things with the people that they're connecting with. So I feel that we've come out of this with some really enriched partners in health, wellbeing, community sector that we can then connect with in person when we can. And I think we're much more likely to be working with them in the future, and therefore with the people that they're connecting with who may not otherwise have connected with dance. So they're the kind of bridge in between. And I think we've really built some good, strong relationships. And I think the arts world has kind of proved to the nation, you know, that it's got an amazing offer to make. So, yeah.
Laura, and then Sam, and then Claire.
We're all like hands now. I think also like touching like what Lois was just saying, I definitely feel that in terms of Exim. But what's also been really interesting for us as a company, we've adapted, of course, and we've had to for, you know, the situation, but a lot of the things that we're now doing, we were doing already within a lot of our sessions, but because of this new virtual presence, like Lois was saying, we've got new partners or people that just never saw us in that way before. And it's, I guess there's been shining that light because we've had to be much more virtual to do them things. So I think, yeah, moving forward, people will see people in a different way, and also that connecting and working, like you're saying, a lot of our partners aren't in the dance sector that much anymore, and I think it's been a very positive way of kind of moving forward, and dance doesn't just need to be dance physically moving. I think there's much more of a bigger picture within that as well.
Claire. I'm sorry, Sam first, and then Claire. Apologies.
I'll be quick. I suppose it's this. I think what a lot of people are talking about, and all these projects and ideas are filling a gap and providing a bridge, which I think is a really exciting way forward. And I know we've all been involved in some amazingly creative problem solving in order to deal with the pandemic and isolation and to stay connected. But some of these are really, really great ways of bridging gaps. And I think one thing we've noticed in terms of who's dancing and who's new are there people that don't actually leave their home quite a lot of the time. And even outside of a pandemic situation, they probably wouldn't leave their home for all sorts of different health reasons or just being very, very isolated. And some of the conversations we had, which Lois mentioned, really identified how isolated some people are, and they're the hurdles for them to actually go out and participate in something. So I think what we're all discovering here are amazing ways to bridge that gap of participation, so that ultimately people might actually come along to a class in person, but there's some really clever solutions to bridging that gap.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Sam. Yeah, I was going to say a few things. What was I going to say? I was going to say about who's participating, and I think because we've been doing stuff outdoors, it's just been amazing because we've had people participating inside or dancing together, and they've been quite a few new homes for us that we haven't worked in before, a lot of dementia settings, and the staff have all joined in, but we've had cats. We've had dogs, we've had people staff coming out to dance with us in the garden, gardeners as well, and other people. And then we've had like neighbours hearing Hugh's accordion and like coming to see what's happening and joining in, or people just going past in the street, families joining in and dancing, over the wall with us and joining in and stuff. So I think because it's been such a hard time, to have live music like that, it's just like a little magnet for people to it's a real lovely invitation, and they can see it and they can just engage with it. It's really simple. What we've been doing is really simple, really accessible, really easy to join in with, and so people they've sort of stuck around and joined in, which has been fantastic. So, and then we've had like members of staff's kids coming in, and we've been having snowball fights with pom-poms and stuff and all sorts of things, so it's been really intergenerational, and really the sense of the community around that care home, which has just been lovely. And then I'd totally echo what you said, Lois, about partnerships, new partners, because we've gone into, basically we've had to kind of work out a journey plan about where can we go, because we're doing several sessions in a day. So we'll look at the map and we'll say who's in that area. And so there are lots of new care homes that we haven't worked with before. And they're like, oh, please come back. And what else do you do? And, and then a lot of the kind of health sector partners noticing what we're doing, which is which is fantastic, you know. And then the other thing that really struck me was just how lovely it is to do performance in care home, because quite often we're very focused on doing a participatory workshop. We don't do as much just simple performance. And I've really noticed how, especially in the dementia settings, it's been a lovely invitation for people. There's no expectation that people have to do anything, but they do, you know. So it's a new model, it's a new practice, really, in a way. I'd like to do a bit more performing.
Thank you very much. There's so much to take away from this that we could talk for hours and hours. I'm trying to hone in on some key things that we want to really talk about and shed some light on. Gemma Smith, the wonderful woman that she is, that's joined this webinar, has asked us 3 questions. 3 already. By all means, if other people want to ask questions too, go for it. But I'm going to tackle some of Gemma's questions, in particular, coming off the back of this first discussion point. Sorry, you're not sorry, Gemma Smith. Coming off the back of this conversation about sort of bridging the gap and new approaches, Gemma has talked about TikTok and how that has been sort of this new sort of craze and this new mode of connecting with people that we wouldn't normally connect with through dance. And it feels like that particular app is about people owning it themselves, isn't it? It's not necessarily looking at people that can do it professionally. It's about anyone having a go at something, you know. And I wonder if anyone else within this panel has started to use TikTok as a device to connect with new people. Anyone?
I haven't personally, but a few of the guys that I work with use it. I'm not a massive fan of TikTok personally. I have my reasons for it, which I won't go into, but I have seen a lot of people get into dance from TikTok, from trying the little dances that are out. And as a street dancer, one thing I've got to give TikTok credit for is a lot of hip hop dances that we do are also known as party dances. It's where people created these dances whilst in nightclubs, at parties, taking things around them. So you have moves like the Steve Martin, which was taken from a movement that a comedian did whilst on stage, or the Robocop, which was taken from one of the other robots in the film, and the movement they took it. And TikTok started doing a lot of similar things. They're creating these dances and the new generational social dances is what we would call them. So for that, I do see how it's been positive. I also got a couple of friends who are what you would probably deem as TikTok famous, who are dancers, and they're actually making money and getting jobs from the videos they are posting on TikTok. To the point they're that well known. When I tell the kids in the school I work at, oh, I know them. I used to dance with them. I've done work with them. Like, no, you don't. And I'm like, honestly, to the point I've had to message them to prove that I know them because they're getting that. So, as I said, I'm not a massive fan of TikTok. I don't use it personally, and there's a lot of stuff I dislike about it. But I do think it has become a tool for people to help express themselves. And as I said, they're creating new social dances, which are being done by professionals now. Like, these little videos are going worldwide, and you see some of these really big names using them in their sets. So I'm on the fence, but I see a lot of positive from it, and I see why it's being used the way it is.
Is to see where it goes, you know, whether it disappears, you know, once we come out of lockdown and people can physically see each other again, how much presence there is, I don't know. But Caitlin or Laura, I know you've been using some footage, haven't you? Very short sort of snippets of things to look at well-being, and I really enjoyed those because there's just perfect finite little moments, you know, you can take 10 seconds out and do them.
Yeah, so go on, sorry, go you.
I was just gonna say exactly that. Sorry, Laura. Similarly to Chris, and I know Laura will probably touch upon it too. Plymouth Dance and Exim, we have dabbled in TikTok, but Plymouth Dance took the stance to move away from TikTok as a platform due to a scenario that happened, and we didn't want to encourage young people to see things that maybe weren't appropriate. But anyway, but like you just said, Susie, I think that there's been a really important shift in people noticing that actually we don't want to sit down at our screen and watch something for half an hour. We want to go to a theatre and watch something for half an hour and a half, 2 hours, you know, in real life. But I think at the start of lockdown, there was this real kind of sense, and I was definitely one of those people that was making 40-minute videos of going, come and join me, and people were watching 10 and then logging off. And I think TikTok has really helped to create that shift of how much can you fit into 1 minute? How much information can you give to somebody that they can then take away? And I think that that's really important. Like Instagram created Reels from that, obviously as a competitor to it as well. And at Exim, we do use Reels quite a lot. They're very popular, and it fits a lot more with kind of our following and how people engage with us. But I do think it is a really important shift of people going, right, I don't need to cram 20 minutes down somebody's throat. They've had a hectic day on a screen. And lots of videos as well, and we'd follow this at Exim, aren't necessarily crazy dance flips, exciting, wonderful, acrobatic things. I know that there are videos as well, and I love them too, but lots of them are, listen to my voice, look at this, and they're really calm. And I think that that's really interesting as well, that whilst they're a minute, they're not necessarily go, 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 go in a minute. They're also kind of initiating this stop element. And I've seen lots that are when you're scrolling on your feed and they go, stop. This is your moment to breathe. This is your moment to maybe get off your phone. And I think that's interesting as well, that platforms are encouraging people to move away from platforms through these little snippets. Yeah, I'll stop talking now because I could talk about it for ages.
But it's been, it was part of our Time for You Tuesdays. And we consulted with our young people, because predominantly that's who we work with in terms of young people from 11 to 16. And it was, what do they want? And they wanted something really quick, really simple. It was like Katie was saying, take 30 to 60 minutes, 60 seconds out of whatever you're doing, and just sit, do some breathing, do some simple stretch. And people have picked up, they've been one of our biggest things. I mean, on our reel, there was like 6,000 views on one the other day, and it was like, so, but it's what the kids have wanted. And yeah, it's moving away, because that is one of the first things we did when we first started back, last March. It was 40-minute videos, and for us as well, actually, that 60 seconds, I know personally for me sometimes, being much more effective doing that and taking that minute out than taking that, making them films. It's not just that 40-minute, it's the planning for it, it's the editing of that video as well. And yeah, what's the most effective, what's the most watched? But yeah, our Time for You Tuesdays have been, them 60-second clips have definitely been one of our most successful things, and something we'll continue to do, when we go back into in-person sessions as well.
There's an element of bite size, isn't there? And light touch to all the things that you found most successful, whether it's a postcard that gets sent, which has got, some simple instructions on it, or it's a moment at a window, or it's, a 1-minute film. It feels like those, perhaps, as we've gone through the lockdown, we've learned how to make things as light touch and as open as possible for people to interpret. It feels like that's been one of the responses that has come out of this. In connection to that, I'm going to smush Gemma's two other questions together, which is actually, that's the positivity of having very short moments and perhaps giving people time away from the screen. But what Gemma mentions is also sort of, it's quite difficult, isn't it, to be able to find a way of moving in your home and through a screen, and to also ensure that the skills that need to be progressed and developed, or the strength or the fitness that these participants need in these sessions is obtained. And Gemma's question is sort of, are there concerns about the skills gap going forwards with some of your dancers or participants? Claire?
Yes, definitely. I think with a week of bed rest or sitting, you lose about 20% of your muscle mass. So for older people who've been shielding for a year, and they already had a lack of confidence, probably perhaps because of a fall, because these are the groups that we're working with, then they've been sitting, there's a massive worry. I mean, the health sector must be worrying about, I'm sure they're thinking ahead and worrying about it, because actually, and that process of coming back out of homes and back into life and doing things, that's going to be a slow process. confidence wise and emotionally, but also physically. There's a lot of, and I found it really hard with my own group. We've been doing Zoom sessions, but we've not really been I've not been pushing them physically that much, because I mean, these are people who, they're like 92, 96, you know, they are I'm not confident as a practice. It's pushed me to a place where I'm not so sure as a practitioner that I can keep them safe, because I can't really see the space around them. You know, I haven't got the confidence they can hear me, see me properly, you know, I can't see them properly. In terms of working with those kind of vulnerable, fragile, you know, older people, I think technology's been really, really, really tricky. So I think that, yeah, I'm kind of having to think about going forwards, that we were talking this morning about a performance that we might be doing in the autumn, and I was just thinking, oh, we've got a lot to do to get back to where we were a year ago, you know. So yeah, I'm really worried about those participants, and what their journey back to dance will be. But we'll find a way, but it's got to be quite careful.
Lois?
I think sort of one of the interesting things has been talking to people about working creatively or working technically, you know, being told what to do, given set exercises. And we've had feedback that people find it harder to access their sort of creative self in their bedroom or their front room. That it's a little bit easier to be held in a structured framework. So I'm wondering, in terms of skill set, that kind of skill set to be confident and independent in your own body and your own body's intention might have shifted for some people over this time. Partly limitations of space, you know, people that haven't had a chance to kind of really shift in their room. But yeah, just I think you know, that maybe the safer things, the structured sessions have worked well, but people finding it harder to access their creative head whilst they kind of see that there's a toy under the sofa that they should have put in a box before, you know, and the kid might need it for school the next day. You know, so many distractions kind of around the home environment. So yeah, I think that's what we're picking up a little bit. Over to you, Chris.
I'm not too sure. I mean, if anything, I think some of the students who have still been doing dancing online, it's kept their confidence up. But for me, kind of like Pless, as a practitioner, for me, my lack of movement has really affected me. I'm still trying to train my movement and train my body to be able to my stamina, I guess, to be able to last as long as I could, in my coordination as well, of kind of, you know, to coordinate. I unfortunately had COVID before Christmas, and I'm still recovering from that. So the lack of movement, like I've tried doing classes online, I can't focus. I'm used to having someone right in front of me, like, so I can talk to, break things down, like real kind of there. And I find it hard to be motivated at home, no matter how much I want to do something. If I'm at home, it's not the same, is it? So I find being in a space, so I could be sat in the studio space by myself, and I'd have more motivation just to the fact that I'm in this building than I would in my bedroom. And I can imagine a lot of people will probably have that same feeling, which is what's gonna, you know, that motivational issue could be something that needs to be built up, because you then have to build up that motivation to leave the house, to get into the space, to then do the work. When it sounds like a lot, when you've been so used to sitting around doing nothing, it does sound like a lot. So I mean, the online classes, I think, is been a good thing to keep like the young people we work with, keeping them motivated, keeping them moving, so they've got that feeling of, I can't wait to do this in the space again. And I mean, that's my view on it. I mean, it's affected me massively in terms of my fitness and my stamina. So I can imagine a lot of people are suffering the same.
Sam?
Really, to just get on from what you just said, Chris, I think that's a really important point to make, is that we're the ones that are doing all the motivating and the guiding and the supporting people back into dance, and into dance anyway. And it's ourselves that we need to invest in enormously as well in order that we can do that. And this has impacted us as well. And I think it's just really, really important to acknowledge that, and acknowledge what we probably need to do to get ourselves back into dance, in order that we can deliver what people need. So I think that should be top of our list, and let's hold that very dear.
Absolutely. It feels like when we can, we all need to be in one gorgeous space for a while and just be kind to ourselves and each other and have a lovely sort of restorative weekend or something. This and Jem is saying the same. She said, I think the challenge of building people's confidences and our confidence is going to be a challenge. Laura's also been talking about in the chat that, you know, it's also brought people to perhaps pivot or explore new dance styles or new ways of moving. I personally have been doing more yoga than I have done in the past, and which has been great. It's not dance, but it's been something, you know. And I think we're coming back perhaps less confident with what we know, but perhaps a little bit more curious about what we don't know. So there's a positive and a negative there, isn't there? I want to sort of bring us on to another question, which is thinking about what we think dance and how we think dance can be used as we start to transition out of lockdown. We've talked a little bit about confidence building, and I wonder if there's and now we've got perhaps a bigger visibility or a wider visibility in different partners within the cross sectors, whether there's a place for dance that you think sort of within your area that could be helpful to people as we start to get out and about and start to go back to school, etc. Anyone want to comment on that one, Claire?
I'm quite excited about the summer, you know, and just thinking how much everybody's just going to need to play a bit, you know, and be outside. So I think things like flash mobs, you know, simple little invitations that people can join in with, or spontaneous, you know, things that are easy invitations to outdoors, encouraging people to be in the natural environment, move it, or in the city, wherever they are, you know, and get moving, but in a very gentle way, and be together. I'm quite excited about that over the summer, especially for young people. I'm so like school, what's going on in school, and you know, catch up and all of that. It's like actually we just need to get moving and be human. So I think, you know, just simple little things could be quite powerful over the summer.
Lois, you had your hand up.
I mean, I think what we do really well is that sort of play and kind of encourage interaction on a whole range of levels. So interacting in shared space, physical space, interacting around ideas, and interacting around cooperation, and all these different components go into kind of any dance moment, really. I think one thing that we can do is just kind of reignite all those senses and parts of ourselves in people through our work, and kind of re-trigger them again, and in a confident and supported environment, and a kind of held space. So I think we can also have a lot of fun with people, because I think we naturally instinctively enjoy heading towards the fun. But I also think we can actually take people very, very carefully by the hand through some of those processes too, and really hold the space for people who need to feel very, very safe about being in a physical environment with other people and moving towards touch. I mean, you know, touch is a big part of our practice. And I think, again, there might be some stages in that process about bringing people towards feeling comfortable and confident to be close physically to other people, and to kind of share space with other people. So, but I think that's what we do. That's what we're really experienced at. And I think, you know, that's something we can bring.
Well, let's go Caitlin, then Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with what Lois is saying. And I think something that's really important to us in terms of Oxford House with Rhythm City and Exim is creating spaces for creativity that isn't necessarily movement straight away. So already we do bits and bobs like homework club, but we've spoken about there kind of being social elements to things, and inviting people into a creative space. I mean, we already know there's been studies on even just watching art can increase your health. So it's things like that, inviting people into spaces where they can begin to really build on those elements like touch, see creativity, be inspired, and that is their initiation maybe into some movement, rather than that harsh, I can't dance. We've had that a million times, and we've invited people into the safest space you could possibly make. People straight away, they have a pushback. So I think that gentle invitation, especially what Lois was saying, can really help in just creating as much creative spaces as possible across a variety of art forms, can be that link in for people to then spread into the movement kind of platform.
I think that sense of time, I know we've been in terms of lockdown for nearly a year, but not like Kate was saying in terms of Oxford House and the work that we do at Exim, but not putting pressure on things and letting things just naturally happen. And I think that's really important. And especially there's going to be such a long process of, people haven't seen each other socially for such a long time, that actually having a conversation with people in face to face again, it's going to be massively overwhelming. And if that's the only thing that happens that session, then let it be. I think, it's just been very natural and just organically letting things kind of play and not putting ourselves on ourselves as practitioners as well. I think for us, it's that openness and that transparency that we're humans. We've gone through this process as well. We've all gone through this process together. I think that's really important. That's really key, that we as practitioners, or whatever we're doing, we can't always be one putting the front on. That actually we find having that open and honest conversation with people we work with, it makes it much more relatable. People open up and they talk to you much more, rather than just trying to be, this shining light 100% of the time, because we can't do that as humans ourselves. So yeah, I think that open and transparency is really important, and just letting things organically happen, if that made any sense.
Absolutely does. We're really good at listening to people and interacting with them, aren't we? And it's been proven, sort of, as we've talked through the stories and how we've all adapted through lockdown. We've listened to people, and we've been able to be perceptive in terms of sort of responding to what they need. The sort of very basis of connection and relations and connection is what we do, and it's such an important thing that we hopefully will all be working on and be role models for across sectors, sort of as lockdown lifts. And I hope that some of the partnerships that we've all started to build, that aren't within the arts sector, will start to call on us. We can be the first port of call rather than the last one, in some instances, and they can use our wisdom, and we can work with people in a more impactful way. Absolutely. So we've talked a little about how connection and touch and contact and confidence building is going to be really important as we move through this lockdown. I wonder if we could turn now to talk a little bit about the function of dance and the role of dance sort of long term, and whether you think that your perspective has changed on that through lockdown, whether you think other people's perspective has changed on that as we've moved through lockdown. What are your thoughts on the long-term role of dance, and how perhaps that might have altered for you in the last 12 months?
Well, I'll start this off. For me, over the last 12 months, it's definitely can't think of a word now. This is one thing that's happened to me, is my memory is terrible at the moment. I forget so much right now. Simple little things. I just knew exactly what it was saying. It's now gone. What's happened over the last year, it's definitely confirmed how much dance means to me. I mean, I've never had doubts of what it meant to me as a person, because it really did change my life in many different ways, from as a youngster, in creating pathways. But the fact that I've not had the freedom to be able to do what I love to do with who I love to do it with has had a massive effect. And I do believe that it's proved that dance is going to be something involved in my life, and hopefully anyone that I've been involved with in terms of dance for the near future. I mean, I've got students who I taught many years ago who are now, like started their families and now in full careers, and they may not actually dance anymore, but they still get involved in other ways. They still come to visit when they can. They still share all the posts. They still tag people and tell them to get encouraged, to encourage them to get involved. They still really support it because they may not physically dance anymore, but they know what dance did for them, and they know that they are still dancers. So I believe it's definitely going to be around for the long run. And obviously, with history being made to an extent officially last year, with the announcement that breaking is now an Olympic sport, is definitely going to be encouraging young people to be involved in it now, because it's not just dance anymore. It's now an Olympic sport. It is now where you to express yourself to the world, representing your country in the Olympics. And I think that in itself is going to play a massive part in the future of young dancers. It's going to encourage people to get more involved in terms of expressing themselves, to get more involved and not be shy towards being a dancer, especially in males, I would say, because when I got into dance as a young male, I was bullied for it. And I know that stigma is still around. So I'm hoping that will be more encouraging to young lads and just anyone that wants to get involved. So it's definitely going to be around for a long time. The push forward of the importance of it is definitely going to be there. And as I said, in every way, shape, and form, not just the physical movement as we've discussed, but I believe like once you've been involved in that, in the people you meet, like my life, if I was to stop being involved in dance in every way now, if I was to stop teaching, if I was to stop dancing myself, if I was just to not be involved in it, I'd still be involved because everybody in my life has been involved via dance. I've got my son Caden. I met his mum via dance. Like we met as dancers. My closest family friends, the people my son looks up to and calls big brother and uncle, and they are all people I met via dance. The only people who are involved in my life that aren't dancers really are my immediate family, I guess. But so dance has always been there, and that I think anyone who gets involved in a serious manner, who gets involved for the love of the dance and the fact that obviously one of the most important things of dancing is having fun. Like the people that get involved with it and they have that fun and they have that lifestyle, dance will always be there for them, whether they're physically doing it or not. And I think once people kind of unveil that, I think they'll see differences to it.
Thank you. You're right. Once a dancer, always a dancer. Once you're sort of connected in with that part of you, it never leaves you, does it? Anyone else want to comment on what they think the long-term role is? Caitlin?
Thank you. I mean, this is something for all of us anyway, but definitely something that we say often at Plymouth Dance. We want to engage people with the transformational power of dance. And it seems like, yeah, doesn't it? It's like, but it is. And I think something, so I'm very passionate about it. Something that has been highlighted hugely through COVID is how useful creativity has been in helping people to not only survive through the lockdown, but to continue learning vital skills. So Gemma was part of a fantastic talk yesterday with some primary school teachers as well. And that was something that they spoke really passionately about, that actually creativity isn't just dance, theatre, music, drama. It's maths, it's science, it's English. And we speak about this a lot in the work that we do with Exim as well, is that we help our young people to understand their maths homework, to understand their science homework through the tool of dance. And I think that that's something that's going to continue to be really important, but is just highlighted on another level through COVID, that actually we can provide vital skills and learning and knowledge and experience through dance if you're going to be a dancer or if you're not going to be a dancer. Yeah, thank you, Chris. So I think that's been highlighted so beautifully through COVID, and something that if we are able to grab hold of now can really take us to continue being in those educational settings and being looked to as a real educational tool, because we are. And I think that we should be recognised for that.
Absolutely, brilliantly said. Sam?
I think, yeah, I mean, me and Lois have talked about this a lot, about how, as you mentioned, Caitlin, this idea that dance as a tool, and it's been identified, clearly dance has been identified as a really, really brilliant solution and a tool that's really helped a lot of people during the pandemic. And I think its role within art, health and community contexts has been increasing, and the value of it is being more recognised. I think the challenge and the opportunity for the more long-term future, I think, is for us to exploit that in all the most positive ways without dance being compromised, I suppose, as a social solution, that while still retaining the art form of dance and while still staying true to the fact that dance is an art form. And I love the idea, you know, the fact that watching performance is valuable. It's a way of engaging with dance. It's a toe in the water, and just I think one of our challenges will be to work hard at retaining that, and so that dance is still recognised in its own right, and that we don't get too compromised trying to justify it in health and well-being contexts, but we understand its value.
Lois.
Yeah, I think we should be striving really, and I'm going to say the worst possible phrase, to be a delivery mechanism for health and well-being and social agendas, but to be seen as that, for that not to be questioned, for that to be part of conversations at a council level, at a funding level, at a school board meeting, just taken as given. That you turn to in dance and creativity and I mean, dance has this fabulous potential because it's engaging the body in its expression, and that's quite an intimate and unique thing. So I just think that positioning in a very kind of mature and professional sense, we all know we do it. We all know the work, and it's just finding that way to articulate that so that it's heard loud and clear and becomes part of funding decisions, funding criteria across the board, really at a kind of higher level, really. Not just funding for the arts, but just funding for community development, funding for the health and well-being of the nation. How does it filter out taking on board, rather than just seeing as, oh, that's funding for the arts, that's a separate agenda. It's not. It's integral to everything, as everybody's been saying, really. But I think that's where we should be aiming for.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Claire.
I think I completely agree with all of that, completely. I was just sort of thinking, I wonder as well if the arts and dance in particular can find ways to kind of, it's been such a change, hasn't it, this last year? And there's so much need for us to change the models of how we do everything, and sustainability and, climate and everything. And I just wonder if dance as well could think a bit bigger about new models, new ways of doing things, using technology, going more local, thinking about alternative ways of not touring, or I just think there's with creative people we could kind of start to show a new way of doing things, reinvent ourselves. We don't really in every way want to go back to what was normal before, do we? So I think there's a lot of learning we can take out of this year.
There is. I feel like there's a whole entire seminar just for the Southwest on all of these things, isn't there? And not just a seminar for dance artists, a seminar for people, for other partners, to have some really good open discussions and active conversations about how we're going to continue to work together once lockdown is over, and what good all of that can come out of. I agree. I think that so often dance, or even culture as a word, is used as a vehicle, as a tool to save the high street, to provide a social prescription activity. All of those things are very important, but we've got to work quite hard, haven't we, to be very clear on how we say, yes, we understand and we know how we can achieve all of those things for you and with you, but dance isn't just a tool. It should be valued in its own right also, as an experience, not just to achieve something else. So it's a really interesting sort of argument, and perhaps one I feel like we need to almost have a statement that we all learn and a mantra that we repeat every day. There's some really interesting conversations there about sort of where we think dance is going in the future. One thing that I think has come out of this conversation this evening is that we've all found really interesting ways to still achieve what is so important to what dance does, which is to offer open and accessible ways for people to feel connected and to explore and move their bodies. And that can be through beautiful illustrated postcards, can be through short moments online, through Instagram or Reel or TikTok, can be through snapshot online sort of classes and content. But we've got the ability to be so agile in the way that we do things, but we can still, dance still has the power, the essence to do what it needs to do, even through all those new mediums, which is just like amazing. We've proven that we can do it. I'm going to start to wrap up this conversation now because it's 7:20. No doubt the attendees' bellies are rumbling. It's Thursday. And I think we've had a really juicy conversation here. I'd like to thank all of the panelists for spending some time with us this evening. And we will be editing this piece of this webinar session, and we'll be sending it back out. It's bath time indeed, Gemma. We'll be sending this back out onto our YouTube channel and tagging all of these panelists into the conversation again, so we can share it and share the message and the positive stories that the Southwest and the dance practice scene is doing wonderfully and making a real difference. Thank you very much for all of your time.